Hey everyone, it's Erin with Counter Read, joined by Brandon, also of Counter Read. I am currently at the Devaney Center getting ready for number 2 Nebraska versus number 1 Wisconsin. We actually just finished football. Nebraska defeated Northwestern 17-9. Was that the final score, Brandon?
It was not not quite what I saw coming for this game, but that's what it was. It's a win for Nebraska.
Yes, and I apologize for questioning the final score. Part of it is because I was trying to get to Devaney while it was a little less chaotic. In fact, there'd be no way for me to show people on this video, but if you could see out the windows that I'm standing next to right now, it's kind of wild. The line is still wrapped all the way around the building. Students had been lined up since 11 this morning. So it's going to be quite the environment at Devaney tonight. Again, number two Nebraska versus number 1 Wisconsin. But that's not entirely why you're here for this video. Let's talk football again. Like Brandon said, it wasn't quite the win we envisioned. A win is a win, though. Nebraska got its 4th win of the season. Brandon, what were your quick takeaways?
It's been a long time since I've seen Nebraska win with its C game. I'll put it that way. And I was able to listen to Matt Rule post game. You were not. The key point there, he said, I'm paraphrasing here, but it's close to this. They would have lost this game earlier in the year. Now they won it. And I expected Nebraska to play better than we saw. Obviously, a nightmarish start in terms of the early turnovers, but they got the win. They are above 500 for the first time since September of 2021. They are 2-0 with, I think, a good chance to have a winning record in October for the first time since 2016. And I haven't seen the final score of either Wisconsin or Iowa yet. Looked like Iowa was basically done. Wisconsin looked like it was going to win at the point that we were recording this. But that leaves everybody in the West with 2 losses in Big Ten play, which is what Nebraska has. So everything is still on the table. And that's not putting lipstick on a pig. Nebraska didn't play all that well, but they got it done.
Yeah, and that's actually what you and I talked about quite a bit earlier this week. We're going to start doing a midweek kind of check-in just from what we're hearing and everything else. And that's really what we said, is that at this point, everything is still available for Nebraska. And I think my biggest takeaway from this is that if Nebraska is going to get to not only 6 wins, but to control its destiny in the Big Ten West, it's going to have to get creative. We saw some injuries that were not ideal, but Matt Rule kind of alluded to this earlier in the week that he'd be open to having packages for both Jeff Sims and Heinrich Haarberg. I'm kind of the belief that they're going to need to figure that out sooner rather than later. I think Heinrich definitely has some areas where he succeeds in. He has some areas that are not his strength. He has oftentimes a difficult time with his read progression. Sometimes, depending on where he's throwing, just with his arm motion, he is not going to have the best spot available for himself. So there's a little bit of that we've got more fans coming in. So there's some things that they're going to have to figure out with him. And part of me is do you start to build some packages with Jeff Sims that helps alleviate some of that pressure, where in certain situations, maybe Sims is going to be able to run something more effectively. And then other situations, Heinrich is, I don't know. I don't have the answers. If I was, I would be, calling all of the shots, but it is something, at least in my opinion, to consider.
Yeah. Can Jeff Sims play wide receiver at this point? It might
honestly, maybe
might be where we're at. An update from Rule post game. And again, they don't know much post game, but he noted that Billy Kemp stayed on the sidelines, which is usually a good sign. Early indications were maybe an MCL injury. Not such good news for Ethan Piper. But Nebraska has a little more depth on the offensive line at this point than it does a wide receiver. If they're to lose Kemp, well, I mean, they're probably going to lose Kemp for a stretch. It's just a matter of, do they lose him long term? That's basically three starters down at wide receiver when you consider Garcia Castaneda and Williams. So, or Washington, excuse me. Tough, but nothing you can do about that. Injuries are injuries. There's not really a lot you can control. To your Harvard point, like there were throws there to be had. That first play where Northwestern got an interception, um, there were people open, and that happened more than once. It wasn't Harvard's best game. The fact that Nebraska played him the whole game, I think, kind of tells you where they're at quarterback at the moment.
You could see my facial expression, and I wasn't reacting to what you were saying, but if other people could have with the way Zoom works, then you would have seen it. I was not making a face because I disagreed. I was confused because the one of the football carts just pulled up outside of Devaney, and some of the football recruits just got off and were walking to go into the front door. So they're definitely making a weekend of this for quite a few recruits. So that was just what caught my attention, was watching some of the players that had the football credentials from over at the stadium just get off the cart and walk in. Yes, I think, I don't know, every week is going to be a challenge at this point going forward. Nothing is guaranteed. I think that's going to be the name of the game for the rest of the Big Ten West, no matter what. It's not just a Nebraska thing. I think you're watching pretty much every team fight for its life in some way, and that's going to have to be Nebraska. This defense is good enough to keep Nebraska in games. It's a matter of, can this offense score enough points to win? And that's where I think Matt Rule and his staff are going to have to get creative, is can they do enough offensively to win the game and not just have the defense keep them in the game? Because if that's the case, then you're going to need to start having your defense get some interceptions and returning those for a pick six. Like otherwise, like what else can you do? I will say, seeing some good things from Tristan Olvano today was great. Like having him kind of rebuild some confidence, really good sign. But at this point, it's just going to be like every week is like going back to what we talked about on Wednesday. It's 0-0. Once again, every week is 0-0. You've got to just play for that win and nothing else matters.
Yeah, absolutely. It is just going to be this. It's going to be week to week. I kind of felt this way early in the game. Like no, defensively, there's not a lot to critique there. It's still not a high takeaway type of defense, but 8 sacks, I think today they finished with. And they didn't allow a touchdown, despite Northwestern, I think, having 4 drives across the 25. So the defense is legit. And you look around the Big Ten at some of the other point totals today, you can win that way. You can win week to week that way. So it felt a little bit early on like something lost, because I expected Nebraska to play better all around. But at the end of the day, it was a win. You're right there with Iowa and Wisconsin. I think, assuming those results hold that I saw at the time I jumped on this, like if not, even if they didn't, Nebraska's only at most a game back from either of those. So a lot to still be decided, and Nebraska's in that hunt. I don't know what more you could ask for other than a little bit more comfortable of a win against a Northwestern team that I thought played pretty well. I was pretty impressed with Northwestern.
Yeah, I mean, Northwestern's also playing like a team that really truly has nothing to lose at this point. So I think in their case, every week is going to be 0-0, where you're gonna knock one off from a team that you shouldn't, because you just played like you had nothing to lose. This is one of those times where we would love to hear from you in the comments. So if you have any thoughts, questions, you name it, leave them. We will be back midweek to really dive into more, but that's not all. We'll have plenty at counterread.com. You can head over there. We have game day chats for our paid subscribers. In fact, we have one going for volleyball right now as well. You can head to counterread.com. You can sign up for a subscription, both free and paid, but you can also get a trial if you want to, test it out. But we will have even more to come in the next week. I need to get to volleyball because we are getting into crunch time. This match is going to be hopefully very electric. Nebraska has unfortunately not beaten Wisconsin in 10 tries. It's been since 2017, but maybe 2023, knock on wood, is the time. Watch like somebody answered that. That would have been amazing. But this is a great opportunity. So really good time to head to counterread.com, become a subscriber. And just one, we appreciate your support, but you can also subscribe to this YouTube channel. Brandon, really quick, any final thoughts as I watch the massive line continue pouring into this building?
No, I mean, at the time we're recording this, I'm very much looking forward to this volleyball match. Nebraska has the chance to have a pretty good day all around, given that football won and won ugly, which once we get past that might actually be more valuable. Like you mentioned, we'll have a ton of stuff coming up in the week ahead from this. Great time to get involved. Nebraska football is very, very much alive in the West Division. We're aware of the limitations, but very much alive. It's gonna be a week to week ride.
Yes, and more football recruits just walked in the building. So this is my cue. I need to go get this video posted so you can leave questions, comments, you name it. We'll answer them. Head to counterread.com. Brandon, thank you.
Thank you.